Okay, time to start this Q and A. Probably should have waited until I, actually got in. One of the things I love about Classic is that things load almost instantly. It's kind of a huge pain in the butt getting anywhere inside BFA if you have to teleport. Because once I teleport, I have to wait for everything to load in. Is this a problem only I have, or do other people have it as well? Because, if I get on my flying mount, I have to wait, another 10 seconds before I can actually move every time I load into something. Whatever, not super important. Why is our Servant of the Black Prince over here? Oh, because this is Mist of Pandaria. So, in this Q&A, I've found out this ingenious idea that it never really occurred to me before, where I can just, set the stream to unlisted and then just upload that. Because the whole reason I started doing Q&As as a stream wasn't to stream it. It was so that I could just use the stream VOD itself as the Q&A. Because it's easier to do it that way. So I thought, hey, I'll do the stream. I can just answer questions and stuff. There's so little editing involved that there's almost none. And all I'm basically do is talking while playing the game anyway. So, I thought a stream would be perfect for that, except for the fact that people were actually talking in the stream. And I kind of, didn't feel right to ignore them if I was just going to be talking for an hour on the live stream. And this saves me a lot of time because, having to record it and then edit the audio and then put it together in the video editor and then upload the video, all of that takes a really long time for an hour-long video. Especially for something that I'm not doing for work. This is basically something I do for fun. So, doing it as a stream is just so much more convenient for me, as it frees up my computer and internet speed to do other things, like make videos that people actually care about. So, this is a great idea. I love it. Let me move my mic a little bit so it's closer to my mouth. First up, let's go into the Q&A after I adjust my mic. First question, first up, but where are all of the videos on the channel? I don't think this was actually a question, just something I put there. So you may have noticed, for the two people who care, there's been a lack of other videos on this channel besides just the news videos. I've still been doing those pretty consistently. And the reason for that is because I was busy working on other things. If I had free time, I could usually devote a couple hours of that free time to making a video for this channel for fun. And I was using all of my free time to work on other things recently. Like a video I spend a month working on, and then just getting videos out to my editors and stuff. Since I got a new editor who's very fast, so I spend a lot of my time creating new videos for them, for the Yu-Gi-Oh channel. It's doing very well. It's been definitely worth that effort. It's Pet Battle Bonus Event Week. I can do all of these events without thinking about it since I've done the Panda circuit so many times. So just ignore the pet battles. Anyways, that's all it is. Once I actually have more free time, I'll probably get back into it. But here's the thing with making YouTube videos. There's a lot of people who start making YouTube videos and they get into a habit, and then for one reason or another, they just don't make a video for a week. And then once they get out of the habit of making videos, they remember how much of a pain in the ass it is to make one. And they think, I'm kind of busy this week as well. I'll do it next week. And then once, 3 weeks have passed, they think, hey, it's been so long. If I make a video, I have to put more effort into it than normal. I don't really want to do that. And then eventually people just stop making videos and they think, hey, I haven't made a video in a long time. Doesn't really matter. And that's how a lot of YouTubers stop making videos, or I should say newer YouTubers. If you do this for a living, you have much more incentive to get back into making the videos. So, after going a couple of weeks of not doing the extra videos on the channel, it was very easy to get into a habit of not doing any more of them. So I need to get back into the habit of doing those again, is what I'm saying, because I am a professional, and I professionally do the videos on this channel for fun and purposefully make no money from them. Which is kind of what I like about this channel, is I can do basically whatever I want on it and not really have to worry about, these kinds of things or the algorithm or making money from it. It frees me up to just kind of have fun with them. And, hey, sometimes I just don't have very much free time, especially since most of the free time I do have is devoted to trying to level up to 60 in Classic WoW. So, I've just kind of been moving my free time to something else. So, let's go on to the next question, one that was actually asked by someone. Question, when your body started going numb before they diagnosed you with a stress-related issue, did they have other theories on what it was? Is he going to use this turn? I think he is. Do they have other issues on what it was? If so, what were they, and what sort of diagnostic test did they do to rule them out? If not, this is too much. I asked because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. The entire left side of my body went numb. They thought I had a blood clot and did an ultrasound inside of my left leg. Ultrasound didn't hurt normally. This one felt as if someone was running a knife through my leg. Oof. So they did MRIs of my brain and spinal cord, and there was the MS lesions were found. So this is in response, I talk about this occasionally because, it's kind of a scary medical topic, but last year, randomly, the left side of my body started going numb. Just parts of it, and then over time it just got worse. So, kind of a scary medical thing to happen to you. So I went to the doctor because I thought it was a vitamin deficiency. So before I went to the doctor, I was buying a bunch of vitamins and drinking vitamin water because it's like, hey, I changed my diet recently. Maybe I'm just vitamin deprived. That's what it is, because it's not a stroke. Or could it be? Maybe I had a mild stroke or something. I went to the doctor. And the doctor, being very unhelpful, almost seemed to look down on me for talking about the multivitamins I was taking. Was like, it's probably just a stress-related thing. Because I told him I had been previously diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. And I was like, oh, that's all it is? She's like, I don't know, maybe. We can do more tests if you want. I was like, I'm good. I don't go back to this doctor anymore for obvious reasons, but that was kind of how it was. And I was like, you know what? If, the doctor thinks it may be a stress disorder, maybe it's a stress disorder. So I'm going to start relaxing some more, since I already had general anxiety disorder from medical issues in the past, as well as from working too much. So I was like, this might probably be what it is. So I stopped working as much. I started taking weekends off seriously. I had tried taking weekends off before, and then I eventually went back to working weekends again anyway, because, it's, when you like your job, it's real easy to overwork. And I just thought, hey, working every day, a little bit every day, that's not a big problem, and I end up working all day every day. So forcing myself to take weekends off and relax more, that fixed the problem. My body stopped being numb. It just completely went away. I don't have the problems at all anymore, unless I go through a couple of periods of time where I start working on the weekends. And then it might come back a little bit. And then I'm like, oop, it means I'm working too much. And then I, relax, take some time off, goes away. So I'm pretty confident it's a stress-related thing, because when I remove, working too much, it disappears. So, it's probably not anything else. Especially since I've had other medical problems since then. I've gotten some other tests done, and, they just keep telling me my body's fine. I have a whole bunch of minor medical problems. And every time they just tell me, it is another minor medical problem you have. It's not anything serious. It's like, neat. They always tell me this, though, as if it's bad news. I'll never understand why. I go into the doctor, they do a bunch of tests, and then eventually they tell me, it's like, unfortunately, there's nothing wrong with you, and it's probably this minor medical condition. And I was like, why are you saying unfortunately? They, like when I went to the doctor for my chest pains, they're like, we didn't find anything, unfortunately. And I was like, how is that a bad thing? That's great news. If you did a bunch of tests of me and you did find something wrong with my heart, you'd probably be able to find that out pretty easily. And if you can't find anything and everything comes out perfectly healthy, that's great. They just told me it was something else. It wasn't actually my heart. It was actually a chest condition that had nothing to do with my heart. It's just the chest condition was obviously near my heart. That's why it was a scary condition. They say 20% of people going to the emergency room with chest pains have this condition. And that's what I had. And they felt disappointed about it. And I was like, I don't know why you people do this. Same thing when I had like my stomach problems. They're like, unfortunately, it's just this really minor thing. And I was like, why do you people say this? Do you want to find something wrong with me or something? It's like, maybe because they think I wasted time going in and getting all these expensive tests done when it turns out to be nothing. It's like, hey, that's what health insurance is for. That's why I pay a lot of money for health insurance, so that I don't have to worry about these kinds of things. Anyways, no more medical stuff. Let's go on to the next one. To answer your question, no, they didn't do any tests for it, but I don't think there's really a need for it. What do you like the last... Wait. What would you like the last WoW expansion to have as lore/content, and how do you think Blizzard is going about it with its development? Okay, so this one's basically... this was actually a really long question, and they gave me a TLDR, which is what I'm reading here. And the question is basically, what do you think they would have to do in order to set up a last expansion? And what would said last expansion be, if they decided to end the game? I think if they decide to end the game, they would just, it would probably go out with a whimper rather than them having a big old climax. They'd probably just end it one day, and that would be it. It's like, hey, we had this story, we set up some other things. We're not going to do them, though. That's it. Game over. Maybe we'll put out some blog posts that will tie up the story. It doesn't really matter. Alternatively, what they could do is just, destroy the world and then start over. I think Final Fantasy did that. That could work. So if they were going to set it up... I don't have any pet stones, do I? Whatever. That's basically how I think they do it. And would they set it up and everything? I don't think so. If they're going to cancel the game, are probably going to keep making it as long as they can. As long as it's still profitable. Because they can just hire new people to work on it. It's not like a project that's done by a single person. You don't really have to worry about burnout in these kinds of cases. Because, they just hire new people to work. So there's always going to be fresh faces working on it who want to try new things. And there's so much they can do with their lore. They can just focus on other plot points or introduce new plot points. If anything, one of the best things they could do is stop having grandiose overall, the world is doomed type things and focus on more smaller stories, which is kind of what they did with BFA. And it's great. Even if people don't really agree with that. Most people just want, a world-ending threat. So that's why they gave him Inzoth. Inzoth was set up for a long time, though. So, how would I want a last WoW expansion lore? I don't want a last one. I think they can just keep going forever. If anything, probably have time skips every now and then so they can introduce a new world of, people and stuff and important features. I think just adding, a time skip, kind of like how they do JoJo. JoJo goes on forever, and every new little series feels fresh because they have, a 20-year time skip from the last one. Where, there's still nuggets and pieces of things from the previous thing, and sometimes old characters will come up and, be a character in the new campaign, but what we really need is just more time skips. More JoJo-esque things. But if I were to, if you were to pull my arm and say, what would you like as their last WoW expansion? It's like, how about Anduin leading the army of light against the Void Lords in one final battle to destroy them once and for all? That's probably how they would do it, based on the comics they have set up. I forget. Do I swap into this guy immediately or do I wait? Ooh. Okay, good thing he was a mechanical type. It looks like I swapped into him prematurely. Okay, so that's the end of that question. There's not a lot of questions. There's only like 5 more. So let's go on to the next one. What is your favorite type of pasta noodle? You see, this one was done in all caps. Basically, in the last Q&A, I talked about how favorite questions aren't really very good questions to talk about in Q&As. Because most of the time I don't have a favorite. You know, it's like, who's your favorite lore character? It's like, I don't know. Well, actually, I do have a favorite lore character. That one's Wrathion. So, you know, glad to see the new developments happening. Or, you know, what's your favorite mount, for example? I don't have a favorite mount. I don't give a shit. So my favorite mount would just be whatever mount I'm currently riding. That's usually what I tell people in streams. So I get lots of favorite questions because they're very easy questions to ask, and they do generate some kind of conversation and feedback. They're just not very good because they're too easy, and I get asked them too often, and I generally don't have favorites. So when someone asks me a favorite and I don't have one, I just kind of have to make something up. Otherwise, I give the response like, favorite mount? I don't have one. That kind of comes off as a little bit standoffish. It's like, I don't have one, so I'm not worth answering your question. Or sometimes people don't take that as a response. They'll be like, you don't have one? You have to have a favorite. It's like, I don't care about mounts. I know lots of people do. I know a vast majority of people do. I know mounts is like one of the favorite things people have in the game. Personally, I don't care. And people just don't take that as a response. So it's easier to just give them a fake response rather than make something up. I get this a lot too whenever I stream on my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. So like, you know, I have a Yu-Gi-Oh channel that does really well. And occasionally I'll stream on it. And in these streams, it's a whole bunch of people who've never like seen my live streams before. It's the first time ever really talking to me. So it's not really a pre-established audience because I do it so infrequently and for such short amount of time. So I just get the chat is, I've found much lower quality than like the kinds of questions I get asked in the WoW streams. Because like in the WoW streams, they'll ask me like really specific questions about videos or about the game itself. And then in my Yu-Gi-Oh stream, it's just a whole bunch of what's your favorite deck? What's your favorite card? And it's like, I don't have a favorite deck. I don't have a favorite card. And since I get asked a variation of these all the time over and over, it's just a whole bunch of like, no. It's like, no, I don't have a favorite. No, I don't care. No. It's it really like degrades the quality of the interactions if I'm just constantly saying no. That's why I instead just make up shit. That seems to be a more positive way to go about these kinds of things. So, what's your favorite type of pasta noodle? I don't like pasta, to be perfectly honest. You see, like, growing up, my mom used to make spaghetti, like, every week. You know, every week that was just one of the meals we'd have was spaghetti. And it wasn't very good. Like, it wasn't bad either. I just kind of got tired of it, having it every week. You know, every week of mediocre spaghetti. So I just ended up not eating it. You know, whenever they made it, I would just eat something else. And then once I actually had money to, like, afford my own food, I just stopped eating everything they made, and I just made my own food. So, like, since I was 16 years old, I started just making food for myself because I didn't like the food they were making anymore. And one of the big offenders to it was spaghetti. Like, I hated it so much. I was so tired of having it that I just stopped. And now I hate all pasta, except for the pastas I do like. Macaroni is technically a pasta, I think. Do I hit him with an arcane slash? Shit, I forgot. This is a brand new one. Anyways, let's go on to the next one. I really enjoy the Fact or Crap videos, and I watch it with friends on Discord, and we pause before the answer is given and see who has the most correct at the end. Yeah, I haven't made a factor crap in a while. See, I had it planned. I was going to make a factor crap for Classic WoW, when it came out. And when it came to actually making the video, I just couldn't think up 20 questions to ask. Because, whenever I make those videos, people complain so much about the questions in every single video that it really gets me, every time I make a new video, I have to, think of the questions even harder. It's how am I going to word this question so that people won't nitpick the shit out of it in the next video? Or it's what questions can I even ask that people won't get mad about the bad questions? And I just couldn't really think of 20, and I also just didn't want to deal with it, so I didn't make one. And I think that's just how it's going to be for a while, because the videos themselves, I was just making them because it was not half bad to make them. They were kind of easy. I didn't really have to spend too much time on them. And I thought they were great, great little things of content. They don't get a lot of views, but the people seem to like them. It also seems to bring streamers to watching them as well. It seems like good stuff, even if they don't, do very well. Because people would rather watch a streamer watch the video than actually watch the video itself, which is fine. I don't really care about that. It's just with how much people complain about the questions all the time, it gets really hard to make questions. So I just kind of stopped for now. It really got me to not want to try with a new question. Should I go for a consume corpse here? Yeah, that's probably the good answer. So I can go for another reckless strike. So I don't think you really asked. You just said that you enjoyed them. That's great. I'm glad some people enjoy them. They don't do super well, but people who do like them seem to like them well enough. It's just they're kind of annoying to come up with questions. And I just can't really think of any classic WoW ones. It's I could just make a topic on something else. I don't really want to, though. Ooh, so close. And until I make the classic WoW one, I probably won't make another one. So until I can think of 20 classic WoW questions, and I know people won't bitch and moan about, then I'm probably not going to do one for a while. Even if they are kind of easy. Or, who knows, maybe 1 week I just won't have another video done, and I was like, hey, I was able to come up with 20 questions, and I can just bust one out real quick. Next question. Hey man, I got a question. While I was watching the Sylvanas and Sourfang fight, and my friend started arguing about her age, I think since she has been a Ranger General, she should be at least a couple thousand years, but I also found people saying she's in her 20s. Got any thoughts to this discussion topic? Sylvanas' age isn't really defined. Basically, she's old, but I don't know if she's thousands of years old, if you know what I mean. She's definitely more age than 20. More age. She's definitely older than 20. But, we don't really... unless there's a reason to tell someone's age, they don't really do it when it comes to long-lived creatures like elves. They just kind of don't mention it because it's not important. Unless it is. Unless someone's ancient, then they'll give an age. Or unless someone's young, then they'll give an age. Fandris Feathermoon, for example. I think that's her name. It's the girl who is a night elf who's always hanging around with Tyrande, and she helps us out in the Eternal Palace. They mention her age because she's young for a night elf. She's less than 100 years old. Whereas they don't really mention the age for everyone else. I think they also mention the age of Verisa, the youngest Windrunner Swister, because she was too young to fight in the Troll Wars. The ones that had happened 20 years prior to the timeline. No, she was too young to fight in the Second War, which is the one where Turalian and Illyria met. So that was 20 years before WoW started. And so Verisa is pretty young. But Sylvanas was the middle sister, and Illyria is credited with fighting in the Troll Wars, which happened 2,000 years before the timeline started. So Illyria, the oldest sister, is at least over 2,000 years old. not including the stuff that happened in Argus, where she's probably another 1,000 years old. And nothing really about Sylvanas. Dang it, I usually have an add-on that tells me where all these guys are at, but I'm having a hard time finding the trainer over here. There's supposed to be a pet battle trainer over here. So, Sylvanas is over 20 and maybe less than 2,000 years old, but she's still definitely older than Sourfang. Especially since she was Ranger General when Lorthamar, the current Ranger General, was captured during the Second War, I think, with Zul'jin. I think it was Zul'jin. I want to say Vol'jin, but that's not it. It's definitely Zul'jin when they had him captured and cut his eye out and stuff. Sylvanas was Ranger General back then. And usually Ranger General, I mean, that's like the top position for the Ranger Generals. So she had to have been old enough where she was above Lorthamar in that position, because Lorthamar is kind of an old guy too. I forgot how I did this one. So they don't have an official age for her, but she's definitely way older than 20. Next question. Any hobbies that you have that you haven't monetized? Here's the thing. Like, I have a lot of YouTube channels, and I abandoned a lot of them, when I was working too much. And mainly, I just set my focus to 4 channels. 3 of them are WoW related, and 1 of them is Yu-Gi-Oh related. So, the Azeroth Weather channel, which was a branch of some of the videos. And then there's the Pet Battle channel, which was a branch of the Pet Battle videos. And then, of course, the main channel with all the highly edited and scripted videos. And then my Yu-Gi-Oh channel, which is full of a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. So, I've monetized 2 of my hobbies, Yu-Gi-Oh and World of Warcraft, to some success. And doing that, I've made it a point not to make videos about other hobbies I have, because I'd rather not ruin them as well by making videos about it. And I think that's what I said in the last videos. So, it's obvious to ask, like, what other hobbies do you have, which you haven't monetized, because you have 2 channels about 2 of your hobbies already. So, other hobbies I have include Dungeons and Dragons. I'm actually, like, really big into D&D recently. Like, my friend got me into it in 2016. So, pretty recently, like 3 years ago. And ever since then, I kind of just played very casually. And it wasn't until, like, the past year that I got much more into it. And then when I started DMing myself, that's when I found that I really like D&D. Like, it was okay when I was playing D&D as, like, a player. But DMing D&D is, like, 10 times more fun, in my opinion. I have so much more fun playing the game when I'm the DM rather than being a player. Because, like, for those of you who don't really know much about Dungeons and Dragons, other than it's a nerdy hobby that exists, it's kind of like a do whatever you want game where you have rules in order to, establish something. Like, you can come up with really creative ideas and things in order to overcome problems, since it's basically, think of whatever you want and then see if it happens. As the DM just kind of decides if it happens or not. And that's what's great about it. And there's just, like, rules for the combat and stuff. Like, hey, negotiations maybe went wrong with this, I don't know, tribe of goblins or trolls. Well, now you're going to fight. And then there is where the rules come in order to determine, like, how the fight actually plays out. Or if your character is supposed to be in universe a very charismatic person, and you try to talk yourself out of a situation, you can actually have a high chance of talking yourself out of pretty much any situation if you roll high enough on, like, persuasion checks and things like that. And that's what's fun about it. And I found I have a lot of fun, setting up all of these things, especially, like, creating custom abilities and weapons and stuff for people to use. I don't know what's so fun about it. It kind of, like, reminds me of making videos to an extent. Like, I like to make videos, and that's kind of why I worked myself until half my body went numb without really realizing I was overworked. I had to like have a doctor tell me that I was overworked because I didn't see it. I was having a lot of fun making the videos. And I like to make certain things. I guess it kind of hampers into like, making videos. I enjoy the kind of entertainment factor that creating videos like provides for me and the audience. That's why I like have fun on the Azeroth Weather channel, because I can just make things without worrying about if it's going to do well or not, because I don't care. It's just like being created for the sake of creating it. And it's also created in a very lazy manner, which is also a lot of fun. I have a lot more fun if I can do stuff with less work than if I have to put a whole bunch of work into it. Don't ask me why, but that's just how I work personally. I'm kind of a lazy person, so if I can get away with less work, I will. If I can also do that without, degrading the quality too much. That's just kind of how I run everything. And the same things I enjoy about making videos on YouTube also apply to DMing in D&D. So I have a lot of fun with it. That being said, like, it doesn't apply to everything. It's not like I just love creating things, because when it comes to like builder games like Minecraft or Terraria, I don't think I'm saying that right. Things where you can build stuff in the game, where you can build whatever you want. Those games bore me to no end, and I just don't enjoy them at all. Like, I used to love building with Legos when I was a kid, and I even took like architecture classes in high school. So I learned how to make houses, and I also like built my own scale models. I even had a project where I went in and went to like a real historical house, and we had to measure everything in order to build a scale model of it. So I know how to create houses legit. I know how to do all the building codes and everything, and that just sucked any fun I once had out of building things to the point where it's nothing but a chore to me. So when I'm making videos or I'm setting up a campaign for D&D, I have pure fun. It's just a lot of fun to put creative energy into making something. But if I'm building something in like Minecraft or, one of those other builder games, there's also like a game where you build a car. It's called RoboCraft, I think. It's on my monitor. Oh yeah, it's called RoboCraft. I just checked. That at all is just tedious to me. I don't like it at all. It just feels like work, whereas my real work doesn't. So yeah, big fan of D&D, would rather not ruin it by making videos about it. Other things I'm big fans of, I'm honestly like, I like Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a really fun card game, and it's like one of my preferred card games. But I'm also a big fan of Hearthstone, and I've been playing it since the beta. And I actually made a few videos about it, like in the early days of YouTubing. And I even showed Hearthstone footage in my top 10 hardest raid bosses video, one of my most popular videos on the channel. So I like Hearthstone. I've been playing it on and off since it came out. And I just don't make videos about it, even though I really like the game. I had plans on. I actually like have a channel like saved. It's called like Hirus Hearthstone stuff, where it's just a channel that I was going to make Hearthstone videos on. I was like, I'm not going to. That would require a bunch of time that could be spent, working on the channels I already have. Let's not do that. I'm also a huge fan of Diablo 3 specifically. It's just like one of my favorite games of all time. I used to play the new seasons every, season they came out, where you just level up a new character this season, try to get his best gear possible, to try to push the highest keystones. And like, I would look forward to new seasons. I even like supported this one guy on Patreon who made Diablo 3 guides, leveling guides, because they were so good and they were so helpful for my D&D Diablo playthrough, because Diablo is just so much fun. It's such a good game, and I've just been like a huge fan of it ever since Diablo 3 came out. Like 2011, I think, is when it came out. I don't know, it was a long time ago. But I've never made a video about Diablo 3, despite the fact that I'm a huge fan of it. And that's not all. There's also a mobile game called Idle Heroes. It's a pay-to-win game. I'm never going to make videos about it, but I've been playing it for like 2 years now. And I play it every single day, 2 times a day. So something I've been playing every day, twice a day for 2 years. I only ever really mention it occasionally in videos and stuff when I say, yeah, I play mobile games. It's usually Idle Heroes and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. But, I do make videos about Duel Links occasionally. So that one doesn't count. But Idle Heroes, I've never made videos about it, and I never will. Mainly because it's a pay-to-win mobile game. But the style of the game just really appeals to me. You basically just set up a team, you equip them out, you get like special heroes who are really hard to get, are very good in specific situations. You put the best possible equipment on them, and you can like customize them. And then when the matches actually start, you don't do anything. Like, all you do is watch the fights play out. You can't actually interact with the match at all. Everything is done before the fight starts. And then the characters themselves, play out. And it's, that's what I really like. I like, the team building aspect of it. And then you can just watch your team, do well. Because you can't do anything to influence the fight once it started. And that might sound bad to some people who actually want to, take part in the action. But I love that you don't. That's one of the things I really like about it. I like it so much. I've been looking for other games that aren't pay to win, that have the same kind of combat style where it's just a team builder and you don't actually do anything once the fight starts. There's like no strategy at all in the combat. It's not like tactical stuff either where you move around a board and then they fight. No, it's pure, you just go to the arena and they fight each other. Or you do fight against a boss and you put your best PvE team up and they try to stay alive and do as much damage as possible before they die. And that kind of stuff's fun, and I haven't found any other games that do it. So I'm kind of stuck with that until I find something, that's not pay-to-win version that has the same kind of combat style. And I'm also a fan of this one game called... what's it called? I'm blanking on the name right now. Idle Heroes? Not Idle Heroes. That's the mobile game. Let me just check Discord real quick. It's called Minion Masters. It's kind of like, it's a non-pay-to-win version of Clash of Clans. And you can play it on the PC. And that game is a lot of fun, too. I haven't played it as much, though, because I have too many hobbies, and I can't really keep track with all of them. And also, besides video games, I'm really into manga and anime. And, I say both of those things, but they don't really go hand in hand. Like, there are some people who are fans of manga, the comic books that are made in Japan, and don't really watch anime very much. All they do is read. And there's tons of people who watch anime and don't ever read manga. Like, they don't just read. There's lots of people who don't read. So, I'm really into both. Like, I watch anime every day, and I read manga for 2 hours before I go to sleep every day. And since I do that, every day, and I've been doing that for years, I've read and watched a ton of anime and manga, to the fact where I'm like an expert in a whole bunch of, like, all of the classics and a whole bunch of niche ones that are coming out. Or whenever a new anime is going to come out, there's a good chance I've already read the manga like 3 years ago. That's like how it is. Like, almost every new season, a whole bunch of new animes will come out, and I've already read the manga for like half of them because I just, watch them all. And then whenever I watch an anime that I really like, I'll sometimes go and just read the entire manga without having to wait every week. So I'm really big into that scene, and I don't make any videos about it because I'd rather... It seems like it's a little bit harder to make videos about... Because I did try making videos about anime, and I just got copyright striked all the time. And I was like, I'm not doing this. It's so much easier to make videos about video games. And I've also noticed there are some people who get like shoehorned into one specific anime, and their entire channel is dedicated around it. And my God, do they reach for ideas. Like, I always see those channels, and I just think, I'm so glad the 2 channels I have are about video games that constantly update. Because World of Warcraft is a constantly changing game. And Yu-Gi-Oh! is a constantly changing card game. Like, they come out with new cards every week. Hearthstone releases a new set like every couple of months, and that's all the cards that are released. Like, every 3 or 4 months they'll release a new set of cards that is like, maybe 100 to 200 cards. Yu-Gi-Oh releases new cards every week. It's so much faster. They release like 5 times more cards per year than Hearthstone. It's constantly updating, and it's been constantly updating for like over 15 years. Because I think Yu-Gi-Oh started before WoW, so it has like a longer history than World of Warcraft. So because the two things I make videos about have such a long history, there's a lot to talk about. And there's also like legacy things to talk about. Like, people on the Yu-Gi-Oh side are more interested in like old school Yu-Gi-Oh from like the first anime, talking about the god cards, since they were like really hype cards from the original anime, even though they're not good in the actual card game. Always gets lots of views because people love to see that shit. They constantly release, since Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a set formation, cards which came out in the very first format can still be played today, which is not the case in like Yu-Gi-Oh not the case in Hearthstone or Magic, where they have set rotations. You can only use cards from the past rotation. And they have separate formats and stuff, but Yu-Gi-Oh just has one format, and you can just use any card that's ever been released. But they also have a ban list because of that, where they ban certain cards that are too strong. And they just constantly update that ban list to remove cards from it that are no longer super overpowered, and they add stuff to it that are released that were too overpowered. Because both of those are just constantly changing games with a long history, there's like an endless amount of potential for videos for that. Whereas something like Dragon Ball Z, which ended in the 80s, and there's channels dedicated to it, and I see them, and I was like, man, that would suck to be a Dragon Ball Z channel, because you would just start talking about, like, what if Trunks couldn't go Super Saiyan and his dad left? They make videos like that, and I just think, like, man, I feel sorry for them that they gained success probably with some standard, they like the anime, and they made a couple of videos about it, and then it got ruined because that's all they can make videos about. So I kind of lucked out in the two things I make videos about, because there's so much to talk about that it's impossible to run out of ideas without it sounding like I'm just reaching for random shit. So there's manga and anime. I also just read regular books as well. Mainly audiobooks. Mainly fantasy and sci-fi books. Those are like my two favorite. No. Fantasy, sci-fi, and self-help books. Those are my 3 like bread and butter. Those are the ones I love the most. I rarely read anything besides those 3 things. Fantasy, sci-fi, and self-help. I love self-help books because I went to college for psychology. And self-help books are basically like, they're just full of psychological information. Like one of them I was rereading recently because I just really like it, is like 51 Ways to Make Yourself Miserable. And it's just a book about, if you wanted to make yourself as miserable as possible, here's how you would do it. And that's the entire book. And, it's basically tongue-in-cheek. Is like, it's telling you how to be miserable so that you can see for yourself, things you're doing wrong in your life. And it's a really interesting read. Like, the guy who did it, he did like a research of like, he went to group therapy sessions with people who are depressed. And he's like, hey, fun little meeting. Today we're going to talk about how would you best describe to someone else, what advice would you give them if they wanted to be as miserable as possible? And the people at the self-help group like had a great time basically just giving them advice from things they do. It's like, yeah, sleep in all day. It's like, yeah, never have a consistent sleep schedule. It's like, yeah, worry about stupid things that don't matter, to the point of obsession. It's so good. I love those. I read so many of them. Like, there's literally so many of them, and I wouldn't be able to give you a list. But some really good ones include, obviously the 51 ways, or it might be 41 ways to maximize misery. There's also How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's like one of the best ones ever made, and it's old too. The book should be called, How to Manipulate People. It's so good. I love self-help books. I also love fantasy and sci-fi. Recently, I finished the Bobaverse, super good sci-fi series. I'm in the middle of the Expeditionary Squad. I forget what it's called. It's about like a beer can. No, they call it a beer can. It's like the premise for it is like Earth gets invaded by aliens, and then another alien force comes in and stomps them out, and then they thank this other alien force, and they go to a planet and they find out both aliens were actually bad, and the ones that saved them were actually worse than the ones that invaded in the first place. And then like the main character finds this metal tube when he's like in prison, because he got in prison for some really long reason that I'm not going to go into. Anyways, it turns out this little metal can is like a super crazy advanced artifact from millions of years ago, created by the most advanced alien species to ever exist. They were so advanced that they evolved past the point of needing physical bodies, and this AI was specifically designed to not talk to species who could travel across the galaxy. Since he was a dumb human who happened to be brought there, he was okay to talk to him, and this guy's basically able to hack anything. And since everything is technology based with all these alien spaceships and stuff, it's like completely overpowered. He can just disable their weapons. He can just tell like their spaceship nanobots to put everyone to sleep. It's great. I love it. It's so good. He just basically goes around and is like, ooh, we need to infiltrate this planet with one spaceship that has tons of guards and laser beams and force fields. It's like, okay, so here's how I'm going to disable all of that stuff. And then how you guys basically just need to do all the legwork, because I, am a metal can and I can't do anything myself. But I can hack into anything. I love that stuff. I'm currently on the 5th book of that series. This one's kind of difficult. I don't usually get this far. So, books, I read those. Also, I watch lots of YouTube videos. I don't know if that really counts as a hobby. But, I'm subscribed to like over 500 channels, and I watch basically all the videos that they release. If I don't really watch anyone anymore, I unsubscribe to them. Some of those people don't make videos anymore. But I keep up with a lot of YouTubers. Like, basically, if there's a WoW YouTuber who makes videos and is somewhat popular, there's a good chance I watch all of their videos. If there's a Yu-Gi-Oh channel that's somewhat popular, there's a good chance I watch all of their videos, and so on and so on. It's a good way to keep informed on your competition, quote, end quote. Or just to get good ideas, or, see things that they did well and see if you can incorporate them into your own content. I think if you're a YouTuber, you should watch lots of other YouTubers in order to see like best practices in order to improve your channel. Whereas, I say this because I know of a lot of YouTubers personally who do the exact opposite. Like, they themselves are YouTubers, but they won't watch YouTubers who do the exact same thing as they do because they don't want to accidentally copy them, which I think is not smart. I think you should do the opposite. Being afraid to accidentally copy someone because you're being influenced by watching them, I don't think is a very sound argument. And in fact, you have so much to learn from watching other people. And besides that, I watch a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know if, watching YouTube is really considered a hobby, but I watch so much of it. I watch YouTube more than I watch anime. And that's kind of why I got into YouTube in the first place, is because of how much YouTube I watch. So, that should answer that question. The biggest things I'm into that I don't make videos about is Dungeons and Dragons, manga, anime, and books. And a couple of other video games. So, next question. What are your thoughts on private servers? You mean illegal servers? I can't answer this too much. It's like, Blizzard, they already don't like me very much. And I kind of want to be on their good side. Maybe one day they won't decline my Media Pass application. Maybe one day they won't, ignore all my messages, but until that day comes, I want to try to stay on their good side, even if the company itself has been getting a lot of bad press lately for, legitimate reasons and stuff. That all being said, I kind of keep my knowledge and thoughts to private servers under wraps because of these kinds of things. Doesn't really seem to be working. They still don't really like me very much. So, that all being said, I guess I can say, I do know a lot about private servers. I'm friends with a lot of private server YouTubers. And I even met like Mr. GM at BlizzCon last year. And we had a nice old chat because I've known him for years before then because, he made really good private server videos. I know about all the big ones. And I myself even partake in some of them for footage reasons. Like if I need to look up something from an expansion, they don't have any information online because surprisingly, people don't write down everything from every expansion. So it's much easier to just look it up yourself. I can just go onto that private server for it. So I have a lot of them available. I don't play on any of them for fun, but I am very knowledgeable about that side of the community. And because I'm so knowledgeable, and in with that side of the community, I can tell you for a fact, whenever I say stuff about private server players, it's coming from a opinion of, a knowledgeable stance, I guess I should say, where a lot of them play private servers because they just don't want to pay for WoW. That honestly describes a large portion of private server players. They are just the kinds of people who will pirate everything and they don't want to have to pay for things if they don't have to. Or they live in poor countries and they can't pay for it, but they still want to play them anyway. That is a large portion of the private server people. They're just people who pirate everything anyway, and they don't want to have to pay for it. But there's also a section of the community who just likes older versions of WoW, and, they can't play those officially. So, they go to private servers for that. And basically every single person who just wants to play WoW for free will also say that the only reason they play private servers is because, they just want to play an old version of the game. Which, they probably convince themselves that that's true as well. And if you think it's true, you tell everyone it's true, I guess. But even if the original initial reason was just because they want to play WoW without having to pay for it. And there's lots of people who just say they play WoW because they want to play official, those versions of it without having to pay for it. I've found, before I knew all of these things, I used to think private server people only played because they just wanted to play an old version of the game without having, and it wasn't available. And then once I knew more about the community, I found a lot of them just don't want to pay for WoW. A lot of them are just, very toxic. Private servers are better than retail WoW anyway, and they have this huge culture of us versus them. Like, us private servers are better than retail. Retail is for babies. LFR literally ruined the game, and that's why all these older versions of WoW are superior. It's kind of a toxic community that I don't really particularly want to be part of. Another reason why I don't really talk about it very much. Those are like the two big things. I want to be on Blizzard's good side, even if they don't like me very much. And also, the community itself is kind of toxic, since it's just full of people who just pirate everything anyway. And those kinds of people themselves, it generally kind of draws in a certain kind of crowd of people. Even though, the people I talk to, the people I'm friends with and stuff, they're good people. Even if I don't agree with all of their views on things either. Anyway, as well. So, those are my thoughts on private servers, I guess. Next question. Why is the sky blue? The sky is blue because, the sun, a whole bunch of light in the atmosphere. All light has different wavelengths. Blue light is just the shortest, so it shows up the most when it gets scattered across the sky. During dusk and things, there's a whole bunch more stuff in the atmosphere, so it kind of drowns out the blue light, and then that's when you have reddish or orange sunsets. because red and orange is like the most, what you might call it, it's on the other complete end of the light spectrum. That's why we have blue light. It's just shorter and something like, unless I'm misremembering something. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Last question. Understandable that you don't want to do a face reveal, but how about a studio/setup tour? I think you'd be very disappointed in the low tech I use. I made my computer back in 2014 on like a budget. You know, I thought I had a pretty good setup back then, but I really need an upgrade. And I haven't really... I've upgraded a few parts since then, but I really need to just get a brand new computer. And like my setup itself, you know, I have a standing desk and I kind of have it in a janky way that's not super visually friendly. I mean, it looks fine enough. There's nothing super wrong with it or anything. It's just, you know, I'd have to like clean my room a little bit. It's not as bad as like, say, you know, Asmongold's old room from back in the day. I make sure to throw all my trash away. I don't keep anything in here. There's no dishes or stuff because I rarely actually eat in my room. And I do this weird thing where after I'm done with my food or after I'm done cooking, I wash all my dishes immediately. I say weird because no one else I know does this. It seems like the logical thing to do. You know, after you finish your food, you clean your dish immediately. Or after you finish cooking, you wash the dishes, you know, as soon as they're not hot anymore. Which is how I do things, but I don't know a single other person who does it that way. It's so much more convenient than having to set them all up and wash your dishes at the end of the week. Like, I would highly recommend doing it that way than any other way. Except no one ever does. So I'm just a weird person who, you know, cleans their dishes immediately and everything. That being said, I still have like a bunch of little knickknacks and stuff around my thing. Like on my desk right now, I have like 5 different arthritis gloves, you know, because I have a bum left hand. I just kind of have them all laying around. I also have like a calculator, and then to the right, I just have like a whole bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and D&D cards and a whole bunch of electronics and stuff just kind of scattered about. You know, no trash, no plates or anything, none of that stuff, just lots of things I use. And it's all kind of dusty. I really need to dust it out. That's basically what my setup is. If you watch my Yu-Gi-Oh channel, I sometimes unbox Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and you can see a little bit of my desk. That's about it. You can also see my hands in those videos if you want. I don't know why you'd want to, though. It's kind of weird. Anyways, that's it. Let me just finish up this pet battle real quick, and then I'll end this Q&A video. So, as I end this off, if you have any questions for the next Q&A, just leave them down below so that I can answer them. Because this one didn't have super many questions, but for some reason I was still able to talk for an hour. Because, you know, one of my favorite things to talk about is myself. So when it comes to those kinds of things, I can talk forever. So yeah, that's about it. Let me just finish this up real quick. I'm doing pet battles because it's pet battle bonus event, and I can level them really fast this week. And I'm going through the Pandaria circuit, and I don't usually go this far. I thought I would complete like half the circuit, and then I would finish up. And this pet battle right here is like the third to last one you can do. I don't usually get this far. This is pretty far along in the whole pet battle circuit thing. So I was actually like kind of, you know, I thought, hey, I've done like the first half of it so many times that I can probably just do it while I'm talking about other things. And that was kind of the case. But for a lot of these, I actually kind of had to stop for a little bit and think. It's like, wait, how do I do this strategy again? Do I adrenaline rush here? I don't remember. I think I'm supposed to adrenaline rush because he's not fast enough. I probably should have did it when he went below. Oh no, I'm going to lose. I need to kill him fast. Okay, for this one, he throws up the weather effect, and then he throws out the sleep. And I want to swap in during the sleep. That way he'll put my backline pet to sleep, but I think my pet's gonna die when he gets hit by the pump. So this isn't gonna turn out very well. Unless I'm able to survive this pump, which is going to hit for more damage than I have health. So yeah, looks like I lost. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna lose this one. Okay, I'm just going to end this right here since I'm gonna lose anyway. So until next time, I guess.